Hi Taurus, and welcome to your reading for May 2019. My name is Melanie. This is a general reading for Sun, Moon and Rising sign Taurians. So of course it may or may not resonate, but I encourage you to take what you like and leave the rest. So I use 5 cards for a monthly spread, and the cards that came through for you guys are in the position of the past energy that may be relevant this month. You have the Sun card. The second card along there representing the current month, current issues, situation this month, the Ten of Wands. The third card being about possible obstacles that may show up this month, you have the Magician. The fourth card along being about possible helpful tools this month, you have the Fool card. And the fifth card being the outcome card for the month, you have the Two of Wands. And that final card there laying down, representing the overall theme for the month, and that's drawn from a different deck of cards which I'll be reading about later on. The card that came through for you guys is called Native Bee, and that represents prosperity. So starting with starting with just glancing at the cards, I noticed immediately that there's a fair amount of yellow in the cards, even in the overall theme card there, which is from a completely different deck. We see yellow in the Sun card, some yellow in the Ten of Wands card, a lot of yellow in the Magician card, and a lot of yellow in the Fool card, barely any in the final card there, the Two of Wands. But you know, when I see lots of yellow, it's such a bright, happy colour, representing kind of joy, new things, you know, kind of gleeful abandon about stuff. So, you know, I wonder if there's some energy, this kind of energy around for you guys in the month of May. And on that note, starting with the Sun card in the past position. So the Sun card is such a bright, beautiful card, a very positive card. Represents good luck, new life, new directions, new beginnings. We see a child sitting on the horse there. The child is like, yippee, yay, look at me, I'm having fun, everything's great, you know. It's a card about co-creation. We have the sun, you know, the sunflowers, the horse and the child there. You know, the universe and the human kind of coming together to create something new, helping you on your path. The child represents a lot of innocence, vitality, you know, freedom, a belief that anything's kind of possible. Can be about, you know, lightness after some dark times. And on that note, in the sunlight, in the broad, harsh sometimes light of day, we see everything. Nothing is hidden. Things have been revealed to you, perhaps. Things have been illuminated and shown to you, particularly after a difficult time. Maybe there's a hidden opportunity that has now come to light, or there's been some clarity in your life on an issue that you've suddenly come to see in a completely different light, and now have this kind of new youthful energy about it in some way. And now you are wanting to, or have been taking steps on some new possibilities, some new options, some coming together of something that is creating something new, something life-giving and new. So we'll sort of see how that fits in relation to the other cards. So the second card along there being about current issues, you know, present energy and situation in the month of May. You guys have the Ten of Wands card. We immediately see in that card a very different kind of energy. This person is carrying quite a heavy load. 10 wands all bundled together. He's charging forward, holding these, but he's not looking where he's going. He possibly feels quite burdened by these wands. There's a lot of responsibility. There's a lot of stress. There's a sense of perhaps taking on too much. You know, this is a 10, so it's the end of a cycle, the end of something. So maybe you have accomplished and achieved something, but at what cost? Now you're feeling quite exhausted and sort of oppressed by the responsibilities and obligations that are showing up for you this month. you're under pressure, you're striving towards deadlines, perhaps you've been taking on a bit too much unconsciously to help out other people. Maybe you've been feeling burnt out now. There is a sense that hard work is paying off and has paid off, but there's at the cost of quite a heavy load. But this heavy load is ending. It's the 10, so it's the end of something. Now is the time perhaps to let go of this load, to acknowledge that you have completed and accomplished something. Now it's time to share that load, to delegate, to share the responsibilities, and to remember that you still need to enjoy your life. You still need to have balance, and not sort of overly take on too much and perhaps self-sabotage and being that kind of too busy where it's impossible. If you're too busy and you've got too many things, and we can see him carrying 10 wands there, how can you possibly give adequate time and attention and love to everything, to every wand? You can't, so whatever's going on this month that is very heavy and has quite created a load for yourself, it's the end of that, but now is the time perhaps to lighten the load, to honour your achievement and success, but honour yourself now and go, right, I need to have a bit of a break, or I need to pause in some way, I need to say no to people, I need to set up better boundaries, I need to stop picking up other people's stuff to want to help them, I need to help myself now. And maybe this is connected to whatever new and bright that came into your life that was created in some way with that sun card that shone such a beautiful light and such an innocence to things. You've really gone along and been swept up in that, so much so that you've taken everything on, and not able to achieve. Able to achieve, but at quite a cost to you, and now you're feeling quite run down with things, and you need to put down those rods. You need to look up. You need to see where you're going now. You need to take stock and go, oh yeah, what's happening, kind of thing. What may get in the way this month? You guys had the Magician card that showed up for you. Note that you have two major arcana cards. You have three of 5 are major arcana, so quite significant. And the other 2 cards in the minor arcana are both wands cards. Wands are to do with creativity, with passion, with inspiration, matters of the soul, a lot of energy, life force, spontaneity. So there is something that you've been working on, I think, in this regard that is paying off, but is costing quite a lot. The Magician, I see as certainly a card of manifesting, of having all the tools at hand. The Magician has an object from each of the suits with him. He's got that infinity symbol above his head, suggesting that anything and all things are possible. He's got one hand raised to the sky, holding something, I don't know, double-ended candle, I'm not sure, some sort of rod, but the other hand is pointing to the earth. So it's kind of like this connection to the universe and connection to the ground, and being able to manifest and create through that process of sort of being grounded, but also connection to God, and that there's a lot of potential typically with this card. There's a lot of skill and resourcefulness. What does it mean though that this card is in a position of possible obstacles? Sometimes this card can be associated with being a bit of a trickster and juggling things, and I have wondered, which makes me think now, the juggling of things with that 10 of wand cards, you've had to juggle and hold on to a lot, and maybe you're needing, and be wary perhaps of not being mature about how you handle that, instead going about things in a tricky kind of way to get out of things or to lighten your load in some way. You need to be more methodical in your planning to carry things out. This is certainly what the Magician is suggesting, rather than always just using sheer will and sheer force, which the Magician has and is very much about knowing you're in charge of your own reality, but you can't, and that God is always with us and on our side, the universe, and you can harness the power of that, but you need to use that wisely. You need to, rather than sort of wallow and get weighed down in things and doubting things, you need to take some action to focus your energy, to meditate, perhaps to reflect, rather than getting so weighed down by things that you're having to do, sneaky, dodgy kind of things, and juggling all these things, which may end up being very unhelpful ultimately. What may be useful though, we have the Fool card that came out for you guys. The Magician card is the first card. It's number 1 in the major arcana. The Fool is actually truly the first one. It's 0. So we have 0 and we have 1. Interesting, that one's in a helpful, one's in an obstacle position, one's in a helpful position, and these are the cards that are right at the start of the major arcana. The Fool is about a new journey, going off on some beautiful new adventure with absolute abandon, with just like, woohoo, all I need is my little dog, my little bag, and just a bunch of dreams and faith. I'm just traveling light, I'm going out into the world, I'm living in the now, I'm spontaneous, I'm carefree, I'm letting go of all my burdens and responsibilities, all the crap that other people tell me, and I'm off on my journey. He has faith. He or she in this card has absolute faith in the universe and where the world may be where God may be taking you. It's a reminder not to take life too seriously, to get back in touch with that youthful, new, adventurous, exciting energy that we see had shown up in the past with that Sun card too. Has that youthful, innocent abandonment, of creating something new, of going on a new journey, of breaking away from routine, of taking up random opportunities, of spontaneous things that happen, of synchronicities, and just seeing that all things are possible with great humour and passion and fun and lightness. There's such a lightness to this card, completely opposite to the Ten of Wands card there, which you're like, oh, I'm really kind of weighed down by everything now that I've taken on, even though I wanted to take it on, but now I need to share that somehow, or put down those wands, or rejig things somehow so that I get back in touch with that youthful kind of innocent, exciting energy that I started with. There is an element of a journey or process in some way, because the outcome card here, we have the Two of Wands card. And this is a card typically of looking ahead to the future, of planning, of making decisions, of making some progress, of being a bit bored and restless and seeking greener pastures. The person in this card is holding the world in his hands, and he's looking out across the land like, whoa, where am I going to now? Is the grass greener over there? I want to go over there. He's holding one wand in front of him. He's got one behind him. So he's got kind of a bit of a backup plan there. Maybe he's comparing things. Do I do this? Do I do that? It's a card about hard work, duty, juggling the external and the internal pressures that we have. A card of two things, so it's like comparing that, focusing on one thing perhaps, trying to decide, do I go out alone? Do I stay attached to something or someone that I don't particularly want to be? You need to balance something out here, need to make a choice about a life direction you're thinking about heading in. You're very much contemplating that, planning something to do with that. And with that Fool card next to it being in the position of what may be helpful and useful this month, it's strongly saying to take on, I think, some of that energy. Don't be too much kind of like, I need to be very serious about this, it's like, okay, now's the time to sort of lighten up a bit, but also look ahead to where I'm going. There's certainly a sense of discovery in the world kind of thing, and wanting to move away, a bit of dissatisfaction, certainly with that Ten of Wands card there, dissatisfaction with how the current status quo is, and needing to make a decision about that and planning for that. Finally, I'm just going to read from the book. Oopsie, sorry, I shook the camera. This book here, the Dreamtime Reading Cards booklet, that come along with that this deck of cards. The Dreamtime is the Aboriginal Australian spiritual belief system. These cards are just visually very beautiful, and I love the meaning and the words behind them. So the card that came through for you guys is called Native Bee, and that's about prosperity. The native bee is a small stingless bee found only in Australia. The honey from the native bee was enjoyed by some Aboriginal language groups and formed an important source of energy in their traditional diet. The native bee represents sweetness, hard work, and prosperity. The little bee goes about each day doing the same thing, visiting the beauty of native flowers while fertilizing and ensuring the longevity of the landscape. The hard work, we see that in that Ten of Wands card there. Boy, have you been putting in some hard work. Anyway, your study, your career, or just a hobby will prosper when you find out what makes you truly happy and then do that thing every day. I think we see that with a combination there of the Fool card. Being truly kind of happy, and the Two of Wands, thinking, planning about the future, and not being too tricky with it with a Magician card there. Anyway, you will not find satisfaction from overnight success or a windfall of wealth. The native bee offers you the riches that come from quiet, solid achievement. If you are unhappy with your current job, the native bee shows up to encourage you to start thinking about changing your career or studying something that makes you truly happy. If you are already doing something you love, pay attention to the details and commit some of your time to doing it every day, and be assured the results, prosperity and true wealth will come. Excuse me. So that's very reassuring, I think. And there is something about needing to get back in touch with what you love, with this card about prosperity, but about the tarot cards too. There is that energy of sort of opposing energies, really, of lightness and excitement and creation and innocence and new things and new adventures, and I love this stuff and I'm just going to go with it and the universe is going to support me. And then finding yourself a bit too bogged down, perhaps in other people's stuff that they've put on you that you have chosen to take on, and you need to let go of some of that stuff so that you don't resort to silly things to lighten the load. And through this process you'll be able to look ahead, or you are sort of really thinking about, well, what now? Be mindful though of not tricking yourself into thinking the grass is always greener. Not necessarily the case. And if you are thinking that, why? I think as the prosperity reading just suggested, and I know it's easier said than done, to find what it is you love and do a little bit of that every day and build on that. Carry that energy of, gosh, I just love this so much, just like a child loves to play, or has their best friend or their favorite activity, and they are just they're just mindful and have that present awareness because they're just in the zone. What is your zone? You need to find your zone. You need to unburden yourself, and think about where you're heading, because that will bring prosperity. Thank you, Taurus, for watching and listening to this reading. I hope it's been of use for you in some way, shape or form. Have a wonderful May, and I hope to see you back in June.